everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast, Bundesliga podcast, covering everything that there is to know about Eintracht Frankfurt, our favorite club in the Bundesliga, because we're not saying they're the greatest club of a lot of things, but we feel better than we do last week. Garret here in Metro Detroit, Warren to be exact. Joined tonight, always seems to be my partner, it seems lately, John Ben, Delaware. How are you this evening, good sir?
Pretty good. This past weekend I was at my friend's wedding outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. Good time. Lots of fun seeing some people I haven't seen in a long time. So, you know what? Despite only getting a draw on Sundays and my Jaguars shitting the bed, it's all good.
Yeah, it was a really fun, this is one of those great picturesque fall weekends here in Michigan. A little bit warm, but the changing of the colors, a gorgeous Sunday, taking in, I was telling him, it's getting used, like we've talked about our Detroit Lions being wonderful in that, but this is still unusual to see. It's good. And then when you mix it in with quality company and quality food, my friend's brother hooked up some barbecue, made some pulled pork, brisket, grilled pineapple, and I got leftovers. So that suffices for a match we're going to be talking about very shortly. Actually, roll into it right now, to be fact. We're not going to really go into too much detail about, if you want to see our thoughts on the 1-0 Europa League win over RFS in Latvia. You can go back to the Recap the Adler Europa, which you can find on the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt YouTube page. Nice little breakdown of everything into that. So coming off that big win, which, it was talked about by us on Thursday, as well as I think Dino talked about it, lads talked about it, multiple were like, yeah, it wasn't our best performance. We have some work to do. The Adler then travels to Berlin to take on an Union Berlin side under Bo Svensson that kind of looks a little bit vintage like the Union Berlin sides we've seen in the Bundesliga prior to last year. Team that had only allowed 4 goals going into the game. When you see the lineup that Dino rolled out yesterday, John, what were your thoughts kind of as far as who we saw, who was in? Anything kind of shock you, or did you feel pretty good about it?
Yeah, I think that lineup was pretty much what we expected. Obviously, unfortunately, Niels Nkunku was suffering from an allergic reaction, so he wasn't able to make the trip. Whether he would have started or not, I don't know. I think Teata is kind of rolling as the left back right now. I was maybe a little bit surprised to see Skiri in there over Dahoud, but obviously Dahoud's played quite a few more minutes over the past few games. And Skiri coming back with no face mask. I think it was good to get him in a game.
And it looked like FotMob here has the shape as kind of a 4-4-2, but mainly of the I don't say a boxy, but you have 2 out-and-out holding midfielders in Larson and Skiri, and then 2 out-and-out inside wide players in Mario Götze and Einsgar Knopf, Ekatike and Marmoush up front. Marmoush back up top. I think on Thursdays you saw he started on the left-hand side with Kamujan up top with Igor Matanovic to start off. The Adler jumps ahead in the 14th minute. A little bit of a chaotic play, kind of a hockey play. And the old goat, literally, right in front of the net to put it in from close range. Score ended up that way at halftime. Unfortunately, the Adler had to make a unfortunate substitution 38 minutes in. Rasmus Christensen had to come off. What was the...
It looks like a hamstring. I know that they just said muscle injury today, and unfortunately he's going to be out for at least a couple of weeks. They didn't specify any time period. Hopefully it's shorter than longer, but definitely didn't look ideal when he went down. He was definitely holding that hamstring pretty hard.
So Christensen off and Mbembe comes on. That was the only change at halftime. Second half, as I'm kind of looking at the game, I didn't get the chance to watch all of the match. With the 12:30 start off, going in between places, caught a little bit live, and then I watched the Bundesliga highlight show last night before sleep. It seemed like in the second half, having a 1-0 lead, Union kind of really started to get into the game and really kind of take it over. Does that feel accurate on that, or is there some things that you feel like I'm missing?
No, they especially those first 20 minutes, definitely the first 15 minutes of the second half, they really dominated, and then of course scored about 20 minutes into that half on a counter. Really, really nice counter, honestly, from them. Really unfortunate to give that up, but Robert Skov made an amazing play to head the ball away from Chaibi and then kind of turned Teata inside out and gave it to Hollerbach, who finished it off very nicely as well. But yeah, they came out in the second half and really started to take control of the game. After that, I thought we kind of fought back a bit, and then of course the Teata red card happened, which we can talk about, but that.
Both players go down. Maybe looks like in the case of from what I saw, Teat wasn't the one initiating the contact. It wasn't a good follow through either way, regardless of the whole situation. But unfortunately, Arthur Teat was already on a yellow. I think he was seeing red more than that, a deeper shade of red than the card. I don't know. The highlight show showed part of the meltdown.
I mean, he was being held. His shirt was tugged before, and then as he's trying to go for the ball, I think it was Skarka was continually holding on to him, turning him around. He goes to try to get the ball, hits Schaefer. The contact really wasn't terrible either, I didn't think. In my opinion, that's not a second yellow worthy at all. It obviously it should have been called as a foul against Union before that, and Teata got really pissed, but the team has already said that they're going to appeal that. I think there's no reason why we shouldn't win that appeal and Teata should be back, unless the Bundesliga feels that his reaction afterwards is still worthy of a game suspension, but I'm not sure that.
If anything, you can see how it goes. It may be one of those where you could see some weird shit happen, like the card, the suspension for the incident for the card itself gets rescinded, but he gets a game for the action, or he gets fined for sure.
Yeah, probably fined, I would think. I don't think it's worthy of a suspension, in my opinion, at all. And that card should definitely be rescinded.
Yeah, I think, and also when you look at if this was a repeat, when you look at this like first-time offenders, everything in that nature, course of the game, I mean, there's a lot of things that get determined that we often don't talk about, or even UMC managers talk about in the back of seats before official review ratings. There's more than just the 11v11 and subs that go into how a game is looked at, how a game is reviewed. So I'd be really intrigued to see when that decision gets made. I don't know if those usually get made middle of a week or closer to the match day. I know, especially with the Pokal week too, that might muddy up some things too, as far as like the timetable of all that goes.
Now, I do have a question. If Teata were to be suspended, does that count? I mean, I know DFB versus DFL, so would that just count as the weekend game and not the Pokal game?
I think it would apply to league. Okay. If I recall right, when Philip Kostic got his red card against Bremen in the quarterfinals of the DFB Pokal in 2020, if I recall right, the ban was for for the Pokal only, and he was good to go in the league. I would think that also goes into effect, unless there's a general ruling of, violent conduct, dangerous play, repeat offender, and it's across all competitions. But it has to be, I think, pretty severe for something like that to hit a threshold. So I would think you could put Teat in on Wednesday for the match that we'll talk about. So I know there was a little bit of back and forth on Benedikt Hallerbeck, would the goal count or stand, and that stood. And then in the 91st, it briefly looks like that Union's going to run away with a 2-1 win. Tim Skarka, or if I fucked up that last name, you can let me know on that. However, ruled off offside. Looked like it was dangerously close.
That was one of the tightest calls I've seen in a long time. It took them nearly 4 minutes, I think, to finally decide on that one. It's one of those things where, in my opinion, when a call is that tight, I feel like there's got to be a time limit on VAR at a certain point, because otherwise you're just splitting hairs on calls like that. Look, I'm very glad it went our way. I think that a 1-1 draw was more than deserved for our performance. So, I think we came away with the correct result. Just incidences like that always kind of get me annoyed with VAR.
I think, I picked a 2-1 win, but at the same time, when you go into a game, you're taking on an Union Berlin team that, okay, they're not bagging. They're proving as difficult as it's like I said, it's a vintage Union Berlin side, and credit to Bo Svensson and getting that team going. It seems that there's some more developed Union players from the start, from youth to in there, or hardworking type players that seem to be gelling well together, and then that crowd's up for it. So it's a great. Even if you're a neutral checking this podcast out, it's good to go maybe back and just see like two incredibly passionate sides, especially when you talk a lot about football maybe becoming more modern one way or another. You're viewing that, to see something of what it's all about, or what it used to be all about, is really fun and exciting. So I'm in the end, I wanted to win, but I agree with you. It's a point gained, and especially you're back sort of on track after losing in the league to Leverkusen. You're keeping the momentum going from the Europa League win, going into now your third competition of the action in there. And we'll talk about the Monchengladbach match after our traditional segment. But before we get to the traditional segment, let's go around the Bundesliga. I'm going to drop the results that took place over the weekend, and then let's talk about a couple results that may have caught you off guard one way or another. So we already talked about Union Berlin, Eintracht Frankfurt 1-1 on Sunday. Friday, things opened up with Mainz and Monchengladbach, Borussia Mönchengladbach. That was a 1-1 draw. Dortmund did a Dortmund. Augsburg 2, Borussia Dortmund 1. A hard-fought contest in the east of Germany between RB Leipzig and Freiburg. Freiburg jumped out to a 1-0 lead, but them damn sugar drinks got that. They did something, because they went off for 3 in the second half, led by Captain Willi Orban getting the first one, 3-1. St. Pauli, Wolfsburg, that was 0-0. VfB Stuttgart took on Holstein Kiel. That was a 2-1. Holstein Kiel showed that they didn't get the win, but they showed, like, if they're going down swinging. Werder Bremen, Bayer Leverkusen, that was the 12:30, the Topspiel on Saturday, and 2-2, a 90th minute equalizer by Werder Bremen. Bochum got Bayern, Bochum 0, Bayern Munich 5. Heidenheim, Hoffenheim, the Heimfest. Entertaining match from what I saw in the highlights. Both teams had chances, but at the end of the day, honors even. So 9 matches. Without talking about ours, what's one that off the top of your head you're like, were stunned by, shocked by, laughing at, all the above?
Of course, the Werder Bremen Leverkusen game. I wasn't watching it as I was listening to it in the shower, but that was absolutely incredible for Werder Bremen to come back and tie it in the end. From what I did get to watch of it, it actually looked like a pretty even match.
Yeah.
If you look at the Dortmund-Augsburg game too, just a hilarious result. And even though Dortmund had over 70% of the possession, they were pretty much completely equal on shots on target and shots in general with Augsburg. I don't think Augsburg is a great team, but they've got some decent players, and I think Torp is still a good coach.
Yeah. And they got a lot of new players in from this offseason. Demirovic going to Stuttgart means they've had to retool a little bit, and they've gotten going a little bit now, and they've shown that they're a stable Bundesliga side on there. And I agree with you that it was Borussia Dortmund had, what was it? It was 76% possession according to the FOTMOB stats that I'm looking at, but the expected goals was 0.99 by Dortmund to 0.55 in Frankfurt. 4 shots on target by either side. So I think, it doesn't possession don't mean shit. It matters what you do with it. Werder Bremen Leverkusen, I caught a little bit of this live on Saturday and in the highlight show. Yeah, Werder Bremen went toe-to-toe with Bayern. Bayer Leverkusen. Bremen had the XG battle 1.6 to 1.33, 8 shots on target to Leverkusen's 5, 4 big chances by Bremen too. You know what? I'm wondering. I'll ask you this question: Is it Bayer Leverkusen being off, or teams ready to feeling more confident to step up to them this year?
A little bit of both, I think, when it comes to that. I definitely don't think that Leverkusen is playing their best football right now. I don't know if that's them getting a little bit too high on themselves after last year, or maybe teams are kind of starting to figure them out a little bit. I don't necessarily think that's the case. And quite frankly, I think we got to talk about that Werder Bremen side. They are – I'm not sure that they're quite there to make Europe, but, man, they're making a push and looking very, very solid. I've been impressed with what they've done so far this season.
Yeah, I think it's I think there's been a couple of times where people have thought they would be out, and they have shown their way to keep going and get back in. So, that was a fair play to Bremen, and they always got really strong fan support. They're 9th currently in the table. So going from bottom to top, VfL Bochum still on 1 point after 8 matches, an additional -5 in the goal difference after getting Bayern, -15 in the goal difference. Holstein Kiel just ahead of them with 2 points, not as bad of a goal difference now. They're at -13. St. Pauli, they are holding the playoff spot. 1 win, 2 draws, 5 losses, just the goal differential -6. They're in every match for the most part, if not every, and then all but like 1 or 2, but they're just not getting the production based off of what they've had with the ball. Hoffenheim in 15th, 2 wins, 2 draws, 4 losses at 8 points. Wolfsburg also at 8 points, much better goal difference. And then you have Mainz in 13th with 9 points, Augsburg and Monchengladbach and Heidenheim all at 10 points. Shout out, though, I will say this about Heidenheim. Well, Heidenheim has been inconsistent in league play. They have been undefeated in conference league play. So that is something to give some credit to Frank Schmidt's side. First year, especially, second year in the top flight and first year in European competition. Werder Bremen and VfB Stuttgart both at 12 points. Stuttgart with the better goal difference in 8th. Dortmund in 7th. I predicted them at 6. If they go less than that, that's even better. They're at 13 points. Eintracht Frankfurt are currently in 6th with 14, 4 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. Freiburg in 5th, 5 wins, 3 losses. Union Berlin and Bayer Leverkusen are equal at 15 points, but Bayer Leverkusen has the goal difference edge. RB Leipzig and Bayern Munich are tied with 20 points. Bayern Munich and RB Leipzig. Bayern is tops with a goal difference of +22 to RB Leipzig's +11. However, 8 games played by RB Leipzig, 3 goals allowed. So 1 just this past weekend. They that matchup between those two sides is, when do those two teams play? December 21st. So for the neutrals that enjoys the good Christmas, for the neutrals that I know, or the haters of both sides, like a lot of our podcast contingent in Discord are, we do have something positive. We do have something to compel our disdain in a festive way during the Christmas holiday when those two teams meet. So I think we've talked about a good amount of other football on there. I will say also for Stuttgart, El Bilal Torre getting a lot of fun recognition.
He's coming on. I thought if he proves me wrong, I'll be happy for them. I don't mind Stuttgart. I kind of panned their signing of him mostly just for the price, but hey man, he's put in the goals. Got that late winner against Juventus in the Champions League. That was pretty fun.
Fantastic assist to Dennis Sundorf to start things off on Saturday too. If you haven't seen it, go check out the Bundesliga highlight show on ESPN Plus. They talk ad nauseum near the end about him not looking at the ball when he did the pass. You can always count on the Bundesliga highlight show to provide a little bit of cheese, kind of like us in some different ways. But you know what else you can find us on here? Adhering to traditions. That is hashtag what are we drinking? All right. I know you had a festive weekend celebrating a wedding. I'm sure you did your fair share of imbibing. So, my friend, what was some of the things that you imbibed in?
Well, to start things off at the wedding, we had some champagne. I didn't see the bottles. I just saw the glasses. So I'm not sure what was in there, but pretty good. Then I, of course, had my fair share of rum and cokes. And into the night, we went out in Charlottesville and had some Guinnesses, so that was nice. Right now, though, got myself some Francis Connor.
Ooh.
So, yeah, delicious stuff as always.
Very nice. I think, unfortunately, being that I'm in between two roads, that's often been sometimes if you hear a little quiet, you heard the sound of a revved up car go behind me. That because Skype sometimes takes up in the audio, but I know a handful of people that swear by Francis Connor. Great choice. I had my one beer, and as I'm getting used to drinking beer more regularly, while watching the Lions-Titans game at a friend's house yesterday, going through the beer options. They didn't have the Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest, a cold one, but definitely offered me a Warsteiner Oktoberfest, which is also a very solid brew. Especially a great prelude to the said pulled pork brisket and grilled pineapple that was had later on. So currently it is a school night, so a work night for some. So I'm toning it down. I have a Mountain Dew LimeWire because even though the Tiger season's done, our dear Eintracht Frankfurt, I've brought back the orange, and orange is better and orange is great. So yeah.
Definitely would take Baja Blast, but LimeWire is never a bad choice.
I've never really had too much of a LimeWire. So I'm getting more into an orange pop kick lately, especially when I find orange pops that have caffeine in them. So there are few and far betweens on those, but those that you can find, cherish them. So whatever it is you're drinking, we say Prost. We're in video form, so we're just going to keep on rolling here. So we talked about Bundesliga, what happened during the weekend that was. Now it is Pokal time. It's been a little over 2 months. It's been 2.5 months since Eintracht Frankfurt has last had a Pokal game. They were at Eintracht Braunschweig, and they are on to now. It's time for that round that we've known who we've been playing for a while. We're here. It is taking place Wednesday, October 30th, 1 p.m. kickoff. Eintracht Frankfurt hosting Borussia Monchengladbach. Is this the earliest, John, that you can recall Eintracht Frankfurt hosting a DFB Pokal match?
First time in quite a while, yeah, because obviously we had to play Saarbrücken, and actually I forget who we played in the second round, but yeah, I mean it's the first
Victoria Köln last year.
Right. Yeah, it's the first time we've played a top tier side in a while now. So yeah, I'm glad that when it comes to that, it's a draw and not a whoever finished lower in the league gets the home match, because the Waldstadion is going to be absolutely rocking for this one.
Yeah. I'm going to speak from experience of having my first Eintracht Frankfurt home match being a DFB Pokal match in 2020 against RB Leipzig. There is a Eintracht Frankfurt home Pokal match is special, is unique. It is a different experience than what you're going to get versus playing Augsburg in a Bundesliga match. Seeing sections that normally sit, you're standing. Because everyone else is. They are dialed in. And in the end of the day, there's one goal if you're an Eintracht Frankfurt player, coach, supporter, and that is you want to be doing the saying Berlin, wir fahren nach Berlin. We're going to Berlin for those that are not familiarly well with the German translation. So Borussia Monchengladbach. How are you feeling about this matchup? I know there's some players that have joined them, and we've talked about Kevin Stöger and Kleindienst to go with, obviously, the Alexander Plays, Rocco Reitz, familiar players, Julian Weigl. Are you having any concerns about this one, or do you feel like this has the makings of a fine European night, fine DFB Pokal night at the Waldstadion?
I mean, you have to take them pretty seriously. I know we've already played them at home once this year and beat them 2-0. They're not on the greatest run of form, not the worst. I mean, they lost to Augsburg, they drew Mainz, but then they also beat Heidenheim in a pretty good game, and they beat Union Berlin 1-0. Tim Kleindienst has been on fire. Kevin Stöger looks great for them. Those were two incredible additions for them, but still they're coached by Seoane, and that just is always going to drag a team down. I think we should be able to come away with a victory in this one, but you never know what the magic of the Pokal will bring for any side. Having the support behind us, though, is going to be absolutely massive.
Yeah. What are you feeling like prediction-wise for this?
I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory for the Eintracht.
Goal scores?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I'm not sure.
It's going to be fun to see rotation. So,
yeah, that's the thing is I'm not really sure what the lineup's going to look like. I think we should see mostly our regular starting lineup in this game, given that we play Bochum on the weekend. But I'm sure there will be some rotation. So, yeah, give me Ekitike. I'm sure he'll be on the pitch at some point, and he's just begging for a goal right now. And for the other one, give me Ansgar Knauf. I think he's looked pretty good in the past few games he's played.
So I am not sure, and I know some teams do it where their European kit is also their Pokal kit now that they've worn it. So I don't know if we're going white tees or if we're going Marlboros. My guess is Marlboros.
That's what I'm thinking is the Marlboros. I know in seasons past, we've pretty much used that red third kit as our Pokal kit, and that's actually kind of done us well. When we went to the final against Leipzig the other year, we wore red in every match except for that one. But in our first game, we wore the Marlboro kits against Braunschweig. I don't see any reason not to wear them now. I'd like to stay consistent.
And the funny thing, too, in 2020, we wore our all-white aways in all of our Pokal matches, too, which, it's always fun and entertaining. Yeah, I'm of the belief that I know Eintracht Frankfurt sticks with white and black in the DFB Pokal final, but I argue with if you've been winning in red, play the final in red.
Yep.
But we can't rewind the past. So you predicted 2-1. I think it's going to be on Borussia Mönchengladbach to prove that the 2-0 in September was a fluke. But I don't see it a fluke. I see it as something that can be done. Granted, they hit the post. They made us work in that match. But I'm going to go 2-0 to Eintracht Frankfurt. Regardless of result, get the job done and progress. My goal scorers, I agree with John. It's Hugo Ekitike time. I think he's hungry. I think he's ready to go. I'm going Dina Mbembe for the second. I think it'll be interesting to see if Dino sticks with the back four shape with Rasmus Christensen injured, or if he goes to that more. He does the same, because that shape can essentially become a 4-4-2 to a 3-4-3, 3-5-2, all about player placement. So,
and I think too, you saw this in this game, and you've seen it a bit more in some other games as well. When we have possession, it does kind of become kind of a 3-5-2-ish thing with Christensen almost playing as a midfielder. I still think we'll play defensively in a 4-4-2, but if we put like Dina Mbembe out on the right side, as what we did when Christensen went out, replaced him, I think you can see it look more like a 3-5-2-ish, or we can play Tuta out on the right side. I know Dino likes enough of Amenda to play him in some games. He could feature possibly, but I would imagine it'll probably be a back line of, Tuta, Koch, Teata, and Nkunku if he's fully healthy.
Could also be a good, maybe a Nathaniel Brown moment too. There's a couple ways we can see it out. That is 1 p.m. on Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday, October 30th. You can watch that match on ESPN Plus. There is a handful of fixtures here. I'm not going to go into all of them, but is there any off the top of your head, John, for DFB Pokal that catches your eye? Either tomorrow, because it's Monday evening at the time of recording this, or on Wednesday.
I don't know about necessarily if this is going to be a great game. It probably will not be. But Leverkusen versus Elversberg. Elias Baum, our loanee to Elversberg, has been having himself a pretty nice season for them. And I want to see what he can do against some really top-tier competition. Obviously, I think Leverkusen should come away with that pretty well. I'm excited for the Leipzig-Pauli rematch. They played earlier in the season to a 0-0 draw. I thought Pauli outplayed them in a lot of that game. Pauli, unfortunately, they just lacked that finishing touch. And if Leipzig does some rotation, they are also in 3 competitions. Maybe Pauli can do something there. So that's, in my opinion, the most interesting matchup tomorrow. And then when you look at Wednesday's games, I think Hertha Heidenheim could be an interesting match. Hertha's been on decent form. Paderborn, Werder Bremen, Paderborn are making a promotion push. I'm liking what I'm seeing from them. So those would be the games that I'm looking out for.
Tomorrow, the Tuesday game, I am eyeballing FC Köln, Holstein Kiel. For a side like Holstein Kiel that's, playing spirited performances in the Bundesliga right now, but not getting results. Do they take this opportunity? Do they try to go for it, but it's not, Pokal's not as much of a priority. I haven't taken a look at the Spice Bundesliga table lately to see where Köln's at and our 50+1 donor friends. But I'm very curious to see, that could be something wouldn't be surprised if Köln progresses out of that matchup. With the win, home crowd on a Tuesday night. Stuttgart Kaiserslautern, I think, will be if anything, it'll be a fun atmosphere match. Wolfsburg Dortmund 3:45. Maybe a Dortmund trap game there. You run into the caveat of Wolfsburg not being the best at home this year, but I think Ralf Hasenhüttl does value the cup competitions from seeing what not just in the Bundesliga, but seeing him manage in the Premier League too. So I think that could be interesting. Then going to the Wednesday fixtures, let me see here. Hamburger near top right now in Schweizer, right? They're at Freiburg.
They're in 4th or 5th right now.
That could be interesting. Hoffenheim Nuremberg. Chris was maybe Chris's least favorite match. Shout out to Chris. I failed to mention he's traveling to Germany for work, so I know he's been doing multiple airport stops and airport bar stops. So I think he had a shout out to home earlier with the Atwater Dirty Blondes. So I forget the other things that he's mentioned. Mine's Bayern Munich. I think we predict. What did I say when we were talking about this last month? Meteor.
Yep, pretty much. And
so, I will say this about Mainz. They are a bit more spirited, and they have a lot more fight than I thought they were going to have at the end of August and early September. That is credit to Gaffer. Burkhardt's playing well. How much though does Mainz stay out of this, rest out of this game to keep going in Bundesliga form, since they're not in the bottom half, but they're in comfortable. And how much rotation does Bayern do? But then again, Bayern has enough resources to, everything there. So
even if Bayern rotates heavily, that's essentially still a full-on Bundesliga side. Mainz has been interesting, but I don't think that Bayern should have too much trouble there.
So we've gone into we've gone into the Pokal. Now let's roll in. Still going chrono format. We'll talk about the Frauen are going to be back. We're wrapping up with the Frauen because they got the latest game in the weekend. So let's around the Bund. So before we get into our matchup this weekend, I'm going to go around the Bundesliga for what's on tap this weekend. Friday, November 1st opens things up. Bayer Leverkusen Stuttgart. That's at 3:30 p.m. That could be very juicy, especially for the state where both clubs are at. Bayern Munich, Union Berlin. Union Berlin, can their defense hold up at the Allianz? Hoffenheim, St. Pauli, 10:30. That will be a very fun matchup. Holstein Kiel, Heidenheim, and Wolfsburg, Augsburg are the rest of the 10:30s, along with ours that we're going to talk about. 1:30 p.m. Borussia Dortmund, RB Leipzig. What Dortmund side is going to show up? Then Sunday, 9:30 a.m. you got Freiburg Mainz, and 11:30 a.m. Borussia Monchengladbach, Werder Bremen. Real quick before we get into our matchup. What are some of the ones you're looking forward to this weekend around the Bundesliga?
I mean, there are two that really, really stick out, and that's, of course, Leverkusen Stuttgart. That should be an insane matchup. Dortmund Leipzig is the top spiel. Great choice. Definitely won't watch it since I'll be watching our game, but yeah, Bayern versus Union should be a lovely watch as well for anyone who's multi-viewing or if they want to watch the conference or whatever. Union it's going to be really interesting to see what they can do against Bayern. I think we kind of held our own defensively against Bayern, and Union's had a better defense than us, so I wouldn't be surprised. They held Marmouche pretty quiet over the weekend. Didn't allow Ekitike too much either. They could definitely do something against Bayern. I still think Bayern probably will eke out a victory there, but I think the one I'm most interested in is Dortmund Leipzig. Dortmund has to do something right now. They've had some really poor results recently. And Leipzig, I mean, as much as I hate them, I still kind of think that I think they're the best team in the league right now, in my opinion. The way that they're defending, and if they can get their offense actually clicking, and they got 3 on the weekend, although 3 on 3 shots in a row, but
yeah,
didn't give as much pressure.
I think for me, the Bayern Union will be very interesting because you see kind of how Union can break out with what they defend tightly and strict. Will Bayern leave their 2 center backs on an island again? And if so, does that open the door for how Union play direct football? I think that'll be a good tactics battle early on. If Bayern break them down early, it could be a nightmare. But I think that'll be interesting. Leverkusen, Stuttgart might cancel each other out. One might have a coming out party. And I agree with you with Dortmund. I think they're at the point right now, especially with Champions League the following weekend, where I think in that sense, there's some questions like, not only did they lose 2-1 to Augsburg, Dortmund lost 5-2 to Real Madrid. And they did a 7-1 were Celtic before, and they rolled. They won their first couple of Champions League matchups, but two losses in a row, 3 in their last 4 in all competitions. Could have been 4 in a row. They fell behind to St. Pauli, and they had to come from 2 goals behind against Bochum. So to win. So I think they are vulnerable. But Freiburg, I think, showed how you can break down RB Leipzig. Although they only did it once, they played them well enough where they could have gotten something out of that game. Yeah. I think that will be really interesting, an interesting battle on there. Yeah, and I think I want to see if St. Pauli relish the opportunity in Hoffenheim. I think they get a win against them. I think they swap places depending on goal difference there. So plenty to look forward to for that.
With one goal, they'd be tied on a goal difference in points, but still behind in goals scored because Pauli just hasn't been able to score enough. If they win by 2, then they would be ahead.
So those are kind of what we're looking at around the Bundesliga. I know we usually do it the opposite way, but it's good to get that out of the way so we can solely focus on a fixture that has not been the greatest for us since VfL Bochum has been promoted. 6 times that Eintracht Frankfurt and VfL Bochum have played since the 21-22 season. 1 win for Eintracht Frankfurt, March of 2022, which ironically was their last win in Bundesliga play, the year that they decided to win the Europa League. 2 losses at Bochum, and then 3 draws. So the VfL Bochum side is no wins, 1 draw, 7 losses, 22 goals allowed. But they love to play Eintracht Frankfurt. And they're at the Waldstadion, 10:30 a.m. Eastern this coming Saturday, ESPN Plus. So is the Landesliga going to come out for this, or are we finally going to get over the Bochum hump?
I hate being confident, but man, I think we're getting over the Bochum hump. They are unfortunately just absolutely terrible this year. They lost, I think it was nearly half of their team from last year, at least half the starters. And one guy who had always been a fucking Frankfurt killer, Takuma Asano, he left the club. He is now at Mallorca. So he's not there to do some wild shit against us anymore. I think that we can come away with a victory here. They've allowed a lot of goals. They haven't really scored a ton either. What do they have? Yeah, 7 scored, so more than Pauli, but still that's the second fewest in the league. And they've allowed 22 goals. It's not a good situation there. I think that we can come away with a 3-1 victory.
I think the fun thing, I'm going to say this, I've seen when it comes to streaks, in Bochum trying to get their first win, they've shown signs in matches that they're close at times to getting a result that's beneficial to them. The starting the game off and the match off in Dortmund the way they did, going 2-0 up. They have it in them. The problem is they also have it in them to shoot themselves in the foot. However, I will say this as our previous Frankfurt manager, who also managed my English club, who hadn't won until yesterday. Go figure, it was against Tottenham Hotspur, because that's how it always works. Yes, well done, Ollie Glasner. I feel like in that, why I'm saying this is because when you get your first win, I feel like they're off to the races now, because you're waiting to get something, and once you get something, you can breathe. I feel like VfL Bochum might be in that same category, where they get a win somewhere, they could get going, get a couple of good results, get themselves up, and try to do what they seem to always do in this run of the Bundesliga, whether it's start off like shit or end the season like shit. However, I don't think it's going to be this weekend, because I think we have a little bit more edge in us than in the situation to handle these type of battles. Whereas before, we would have played into the Landesliga trap. I don't want to say we would have taken it for granted, but we might have not been able to click in full cylinders. So you're feeling good about it. I'm feeling good about it. Now let's talk about how good are we feeling about it. Give me a scoreline and goal scorers.
All right, I'm going 3-1. I'm going to say Marmouche, Tuta off a corner. Let's get a corner goal in here.
Oh, damn.
Hopefully Marmouche is not necessarily the one taking the corner, although Tuta had 2 headers on goal from corners from Marmouche in this last game. And then give me Hugo Larsson.
Ooh, he's been playing well. Really has. I don't know if he's got. You can tell he's doing something special in the hair. You can tell that he's got that little bit of young charm. So maybe that's something. He's got some. The boy's got confidence. Confidence is a great thing. I said 2-0 for the Pokal. I feel like it's a 2-0 theme for the week for the Monarch, because I think even 2-0 is a good sign, because that means you got a clean sheet against Bochum, which is, I think, something that you should be able to do, even if you don't have Arthur. Even if, say, Arthur Tayat does not, if you appeal and that doesn't, and that decision gets upheld and he's out, you have some players, whether it's Amenda, whether it is, you do 3 at the back. You have a couple of options, I feel like. So 2-0. Okay, now for the goal scorers. So what did I say? So Ekatike and Mbembe for the Pokal. So it's Omar Marmoush time. And then, Hugo Larsson. I agree with you on that. I think Larsson gets a second. But don't take this completely for granted, because it is, like you said, this matchup has been tough for us over the years. And Bochum can show that, just when you think we have them good, they surprise us. So that is at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Remember, it is an hour later, much like the 12:30 as of right now. Daylight savings time ended earlier in Europe. So after Saturday, it'll be back to the standard time slots that people know and love. So, or dread, your choice. That's it for the Männer. The Frauen are about essentially back, or about to be back from international break, and hell of a way to get into it. So we'll go around the Bundesliga, Frauen Bundesliga first, because the last fixture of this match day is ours. So Friday, Köln, Bayer Leverkusen, a Rhine derby, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. 2 matchups on Saturday, November 2nd, Werder Bremen at SGS Essen at 7 a.m., Turbine Potsdam, FC Karl Jena at 9 a.m., Sunday, November 3rd, 8 a.m., RB Leipzig, TSG 1899 Hoffenheim, and then VfL Wolfsburg Freiburg at 12:30. And then, I'm not just saying this because I'm biased. It's the damn truth. You can be a neutral and you will agree with us. The main event of this Frauen Bundesliga match day. Number 1, top of the table, Bayern Munich. Second place, Eintracht Frankfurt, 12 noon. Eintracht Frankfurt, who were top of the table for one weekend. And then, unfortunately lost 1-0 to Bremen despite having some chances. Bayern Munich, who lost the weekend before but had to work for a 3-2 away win at Bayer Leverkusen. I don't think I'm really that scared about this fixture, John. What about you?
You know what? We have played Bayern incredibly well the past few seasons. Are they the best team in the league? Probably. But do I think we can win this game? Absolutely. I think we're still a very good side. Yeah, we lost 1-0 to Werder Bremen. We, quite frankly, had the better chances in that game, although probably not as many as you would want. I think that our players are going to be angry about that. They're going to come hungry. And you know what? They're coming off an international break where they got some revenge on England, beating them at Wembley. At least they're German players, which we had a handful. They lost, I believe, to Australia today. Lozana Greve getting her first cap for Germany. Johannes played in that game. I think Dorsen, Kleinherner, Volter all featured. So they're probably going to be a little upset after that game as well. So I think we've got a good chance in this one. Although, hell of a weekend for Frauen Bundesliga matchups. I would say every single one except for maybe Köln Leverkusen is super important for all of those teams. But yeah, I think we can win this game. I don't know if we will. I'm going with a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I think Laura Freigang was out for that Germany-England friendly. Was she still out? I know she was dealing with a cold.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I didn't see if she was on the bench or not, but I don't think that she played today. I don't think she was even on the bench. Yeah, she was dealing with an illness of some kind. So unfortunate, but hopefully you should be back for Monday.
In addition to fiery and pissed off, Austria-Slovenia had a playoff battle, Euro playoff. How that matters is there are Eintracht Frankfurt Frauen players on both sides. Lara Prashnikar from Slovenia, Barbara Dentz from Austria. 3-0 Austria comes out the winners. So I think Lara Prashnikar is going to come in fiery. I know she's been lately been in the subs role. I know Geraldine Reutler had some good minutes as well for Switzerland as well. So we've had plenty of our players have been featured on there, and I know Bayern have also had a lot of players feature internationally too. You said 1-1. Who was your goal scorer?
Well, gotta pick the leading goal scorer in the league. Laura Freigang.
All right.
She plays. Otherwise, if she is still out, then give me Nicole Anyomi.
So I am gonna go. I'm not going 2-0. No, I'm not going with the theme. Bayern Munich are going to get 1, but Eintracht Frankfurt are going to get 2. And I'm feeling like, this is a matchup where you want to talk about if this team has it in them to take the next step. I think you're seeing things that they want to do, especially with having only 1-2 competitions to play for, not getting into the Champions League. I think that could benefit an Eintracht Frankfurt side on Monday, especially when you think about that for Bayern Munich, they have one less day of rest. They got to play on Friday and their next match after the Monday, whereas we go on Saturday. So I think that benefits. You picked Freigang and Anyomi as your backup in the event that she's out. 7 goals by Laura Freigang.
I believe Anyomi might be second as well in the league in goals, if I remember correctly, with 5. So,
I'm gonna go Geraldine Reutler for her 4th already this year, and then Gravo. I think she's been putting in some solid performances. She's really making a midfield role there. Hers, I think this is a great opportunity. Getting that first German cap, as you were saying. I think this is time for her to cap it off in style. It's we'll see how that goes. I didn't predict a clean sheet, so don't get on my ass about it. But that's at 12 noon on Monday, 12 noon Eastern. Find a way to watch it somehow. Hopefully come next Monday, we are happy celebratory like we were the last time the Frauen played on a Monday. It's funny how all this circles around and goes from there. So we'll kind of see on there. Before we get into ways that you can find us, John, you have any final notes?
You know what? I just want to say, watch the Frauen Bundesliga, man. This weekend is absolutely massive. I doubt that Potsdam Jena will be shown on DAZN. I'm sure they'll probably show Werder versus Essen, which also should be an amazing game. But Potsdam Jena, that match very well could decide relegation. I know Köln is still down there. I still trust in their ability to stay up. And then, of course, the Sunday games, Leipzig-Hoffenheim, 2 teams that are going to be fighting for 3rd place, possibly. Wolfsburg-Freiburg should be another good matchup. Wolfsburg kind of up and down this season. It's a great year for the Frauen Bundesliga, and I'm really excited for the rest of the season. And this match week is absolutely elite.
Karl Jena, Turbine Potsdam with no goals in 7 matches, but they are at home. It is a Eastern Germany battle, so I think that has something to do with it still being a very entertaining matchup. Bayern Munich, Eintracht Frankfurt, the top 2 attacking teams. Eintracht Frankfurt has which is a weird thing to say for any Eintracht Frankfurt side, they have the best offense and the best defense.
Yeah.
Same team. It's so weird saying this. Very weird. I can't believe those words just came out of my mouth.
Only team allowing fewer than a goal per game this year.
So I think that further, I think, gives me feel like this team's going to be difficult to write on. So may that be. We shall see. All right. Now, ways you can find the show. Go to hefpod.com where you can find all prior episodes in audio form. I think we were doing some website work, which includes the YouTube page being linked up, as well as the map where you can find various HefPod supporters. Look like we might be also looking to do some more on the written content, it sounds like, and the opportunity for people to provide some written work on there. Also, the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast YouTube, which this video form will be on. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. The more subscribers we get, the more we get to be able to do some cool things live. So, like, the recap the Adlers might be a live thing as opposed to just a recorded video. Eintracht@gmail.com for those that want to do the old-fashioned way. I'm not saying you're going to read your responses, but maybe. I think I've recovered. Also, shout out to Matt for covering the Instagram, who was going to join us today, but he has got a big New York sports day between NYCFC and his Yankees, so shout out to him on that. And Miles for the branding, producer Nathan for always keeping and getting these videos in the audio forms ready. Brian in Kansas City for mothering the ship, even though his damn Chiefs continue to win games and make trades that blow my mind. Damn it, they got Josh.
Yeah, they're getting Josh Uche. Oh, god damn it, man. I wanted him last year for the Jags, and then we never pulled the trigger on that one.
We better at least be getting to Darius Smith. That's all I'm saying here. And yeah, Chris for, also Seven, although he is now in Europe on there. I got to remember to text him. I got to see if he can bring me back some swag while he's over there. John, where can folks find you in the various forms online?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Ben_JBen. You can find me on Instagram at JohnBen33. And actually, I keep on forgetting to promote it, but I've been trying to use Blue Sky a little bit more. If you happen to be on Blue Sky, I know a lot of people are semi-making that transition from Twitter with, everything Elon is doing there. That's johnben.bsky.social. So, yeah.
All right. Twitter, Instagram, Discord at GM Comments. I've been thinking about doing the Blue Sky stuff as well. So once that gets done, if I decide to add another social media thing on there, I'll let people know on there. Eintracht Frankfurt Detroit, that's at Detroit SGA. No stuff going on, folks. It's 10:30 on Saturday morning. Detroit City has a home playoff game on Saturday. I'm getting ready for that. Also, if you want to hear any fun Detroit sports sicko shit and realize why I am the way that I am, you can check out Channel 451 for your Detroit City-centric content at 451DET on Twitter and Channel 451 on YouTube. The Majors Detroit for all your Detroit stuffs. We have a city-centric stuff, Detroit City, as well as some other sports stuff. That is YouTube at the Majors TV, and the Majors Detroit Twitter is TMS Cynics Detroit. I think we've covered it all on there because Chris has given me room for all that. Sorry, y'all, for no fucked up stat time today. I didn't think there was anything to provide any fucked up. You know what? The Frauen being tops in goal scoring and best defense is a fucked up stat. There we go. See, we can come up with shit on the fly. Boom. For John Delaware, Garret here in Michigan, thank you all for checking out episode 333 or 330. Well, I think it's 333. Let me take a look here because I know I'm checked in here. Time flies when you are having fun. And we will be back next week with another episode. We'll be breaking down hopefully joyous matchups across all on their correct 333 trip threes, baby. So yeah, wherever you are, thanks for checking us out. Thanks for always the continued support, and until next time, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, tschüss.
Definitely would take a Baja Blast. Hey,